Hi, welcome to Media Matrix. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Kaylin Huey, and today we will be talking about race in the media. This topic plays a huge role in our society today. It affects the way we view, understand, and interpret different races. We interviewed two professors from SHU who gave us some insight to how these problems are affecting our society. We asked Professor Usman and Professor Ventimiglia how are different races and ethnic groups represented in the media.
I don't know that I'd want to try and say how any given race or ethnicity, the whole concept of race, I think, is something worth talking about. But I don't know if I'd want to say, I know for sure how any given race or ethnicity is presented. But I do think that it's not accidental when a cast is chosen and it is an African American woman and an Asian male and a white female, right? So these things are deliberate, and the producers and the writers are kind of aware of what they're doing, and they're aware of, or that they probably have an idea about how these things will be perceived. So I don't know that I would feel comfortable making any specific connections, but I think we should always be thinking when we consume media that these things have been considered by the producers, by the writers. It's not accidental.
There's a lot of what we think we know about people come from the media representations that we see, but often those representations are not really accurate. They're often based in stereotypical assumptions or other kinds of distortions about who people are.
We then asked the professors what our generation can do to better represent race in the media.
I don't think it always does. I think there needs to be a real concerted effort on the part of media producers to avoid stereotypes and to avoid kind of like unthinking assumptions about people of different racial backgrounds. And if they don't put that kind of effort in, then I think we're kind of stuck with the same old patterns. Media producers need to be critical thinkers about the language and the images that they're choosing to use.
To the extent that the sort of divides we used to have, which were, incredibly, there's a lot of violence over racial tension, right? And we've still got violence over racial tension, but I mean, I do think we have made progress. And to the extent that your generation is aware of how race functions, but a bit more perceptive about how we can see the irrelevance of race and the irrelevance of ethnicity and sexual preferences.
We then asked Professor Usman his thoughts on race here at SHU, pertaining to students and students as a whole.
I think it plays a big part on college campuses. I think there are lots and lots of incidents that happen on college campuses that people overlook and that they're not aware of. I think things like that do happen on college campuses, and that all of us, students, faculty, administrators alike, have a role to play in calling attention to it and doing something to change that type of environment. I think if you talk to students of color on SHU's campus, I think they probably have stories to tell of ways that they feel that they've been treated in certain ways because of their racial background. I know that there are some students from Saudi Arabia on campus who have felt some incidents of racial or religious hostility, here on campus. The very first step is for people to recognize that their experience is not necessarily the same as the experience of someone different than them. I think too often I hear white students denying that racism exists because they themselves haven't experienced it. But if you think about it like that, that doesn't make any sense, because it's not white students who experience racism, it's students of color who experience racism. So just because it may not have been something you personally experienced doesn't mean that that's not the experience of other students.
Thank you so much. much for joining us today. That's all. But we hope this was informative and helpful in better understanding how race is portrayed in the media.